the Sudan Conflict Observatory, joining us from Nairobi. Justin Lynch, welcome back to Al Jazeera. How alarming is this escalation of hunger and malnutrition during what's typically the harvest season in Sudan, when food availability should be at its highest?
I think it's incredibly alarming, and I think this is really shocking. Sudan used to be a breadbasket, not only for East Africa, but for countries in the Middle East, the UAE, other countries in the Gulf. And I think for Sudan to be facing a famine as it is right now, it really kind of speaks to the horrible nature of the civil war that has been going on over the past year and a half plus. And so I think that these numbers are extremely devastating and it's really shocking.
Human rights experts working for the UN had said back on June the 26th that both sides in the war are using starvation as a weapon of war. How much worse has it gotten since then, do you think?
Yeah, I think what's really happening is that both sides are using hunger as a weapon of war. The kind of logic is that if they allow food into parts that they view as controlled by the opposition or controlled by the army, then they view that as a win for that other side. And so you see that with the Sudanese armed forces. They're not allowing food to enter into Darfur in the amounts that they need to. And you're seeing that also with the rapid support forces, where all of the areas where there has been declared a famine and where they're projecting famine are under their control as well. And they are not allowing food aid into those areas that are really under their populations who support the other side, who support the army. So there's kind of a strategic, this horrible logic that both sides are using to try and use this as a weapon of war, which is a violation under international law, but we're really seeing this just impunity continue without any stopping right now.
And calls for an immediate cessation of hostilities by some international organizations. Are the warring sides any closer to a ceasefire today?
No, I think that when I speak with both sides, it's really shocking, right? How they can be so, I think, detached from the real horrors that Sudanese are facing. I speak with many people who are still in Sudan, and it's hard to listen to these stories. And then it's hard to then have to speak with members of the Sudanese armed forces and the RSF to understand, okay, what is your kind of logic here? What are you trying to gain from this? And the disregard that both sides have for their populations is really, really striking. And so I think that this is a real time for the international community and the regional states that support both sides. I think that it's time that those are the states that are really held accountable, particularly the UAE supporting rapid support forces, and then a coalition of countries supporting the Sudanese armed forces, including Egypt, to name other countries.
What do they need to be doing right now?
Well, I think the first thing that these regional nations need to stop doing is arming both sides of the conflict, right? I think that this war is really an international one, and it is fueled by international arms. It is fueled by gold that is sold on, in the Gulf, and that is fueling this famine, and that is fueling this bloodshed right now. And so I think that, what's really striking is that there has been no action at the Security Council. And this kind of speaks to this broader crisis of legitimacy that we're having in international law and, at the UN Security Council in general, where there's just, there are these proliferation of crises without any real solution. And, I think for countries in the West, it is very uncomfortable, right? Because one of the main backers of the rapid support forces, the main backer is the UAE, which is a critical ally of the US,
right.
of UK. And so this is a very uncomfortable conversation that diplomats have to navigate.
Okay, Justin Lynch, lead analyst at the Sudan Conflict Observatory, speaking to us from Nairobi. Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.